I'm gonna try to be as brief as I can with this message because I know that it may be a little sensitive for some people out there, but let me tell you that as Latino business leaders, anyone that is running a Hispanic Chamber of Commerce or a business association that is working with Latino and Latina business owners, have to pay attention to this because I've been doing this job since 2008. And since 2008, the narrative that Latino-owned businesses don't have access to capital is because of their ethnicity or their background. And what I can tell you from my personal experience and from everything that I have learned over the last 13 years that I've been working with small businesses, that's not the case. Every time that a business owner comes to us and said like, Taide, I just got denied of a business loan because they are being racist and because I'm Latino or I'm Latina. And once you start having a deeper conversation with these entrepreneurs, you realize that their credit is not where it's supposed to be. They don't have a business plan. If they're already in business, they are not following a standard accounting practices. So, it has nothing to do with how you talk or how you look. It's like your numbers. You have to let your numbers speak by themselves when you go and try to get some funding for your business. And I can tell you, from my personal experience, when I moved to this country in 2006, I didn't have a credit score. I had a resume that wasn't even enough for me to apply for some of the positions that I wanted to get in those years, because they were looking at my resume and like, oh, you just moved from Mexico and you work for the government, and no, it's not enough to consider you for this position because you don't have experience in this country. And at that time, I didn't even speak English. So it was very challenging for me. I remember the first jobs that I applied in 2006 were jobs with companies that Spanish was kind of like the main language that you have to use to do business transactions. So I'm telling you this because I have lived and experienced what a lot of you guys have experienced, and I'm sharing with you my personal experience, because what often happens with a lot of Hispanic business leaders, and I'm going live right now because I just heard one guy talking about this topic on Twitter, and I was like, we have to change the narrative, especially from Latino business leaders, people who actually have a voice in the community. They have to change the narrative because of you talking about Latinos not having access to capital because they are Latinos. You are just contributing to the same thing that has been addressed for the last 13 years at least, because I'm going to show you in a minute some articles and research studies that have been conducted in 2008, 2013, 2016, 2017. There have been a lot of research studies that conduct surveys on Latino business owners, and when they ask them, have you applied for a business loan? Yeah. Have you been denied? Yes. Why do you think that you have been denied? Because I'm Latino. And they start sharing that information, and then you have other business owners, Latino business owners, that are getting discouraged to apply for business loans because of that information that they're reading, or because the comments that they get from their family and friends. Don't go to the bank because you're gonna get denied. And I think that narrative has to change, especially in 2021. Okay, we are in a different decade where there is money out there for small businesses, but small businesses must be prepared to go out there and ask for money. Okay, just think about this. Let's say that you have $1 million, and I come to you and I say like, hey, listen, Taide, I'm about to start this business, and I need $100,000 to start my business. Can you lend me some money? And you be like, Okay, so what's your plan, or are you planning to pay the loan back, etc. You're gonna be very careful about how you start lending money to family and friends, because if you don't do your due diligence and your research, next thing you know, you are going to run out of money, and you won't have any money for yourself or to anyone outside your circle, or this little project that you started, right? So you have to understand, like, banks, for the majority of banks, or at least the ones that I know, loans under $100,000 is not profitable for them. So if you're a small business owner that needs $100,000, $200,000, most likely, if you go to a bank, you're gonna be like experiencing some barriers that you're gonna feel that they are not paying you the proper attention because of your background or your ethnicity or whatever. But it's just more because of the size of your loan. So when small businesses come to us and they tell me, like, Daddy, I need $50,000, $25,000, I usually recommend them to go with a micro lender, a CDFI, or any other available options that are in the market for those loan amounts. For larger amounts, I ask them, like, what's your credit score? What's the situation with your financials? My wife, she works as an outside controller, and I get to see, like, with some of the clients that she work, that even companies that are making $1-2 million, they still have some sort of, like, mistakes, or I should say, areas of opportunities in their financials. So she comes in, fix some of her stuff, and then she makes these companies better qualify for business loans. And they are not, it has nothing to do with if you're Latino, African American, or anything like that. It's just your numbers. You have to let your numbers speak by themselves when you are going after some funding, okay? Then the other situation that I have seen over the years is, like, you have certain organizations out there, or lenders out there, that are taking advantage of small businesses, Latino-owned businesses, that are desperate for money, and they're charging you 36% rate, interest rate, 45% interest rate. And these small businesses are going with those loans because they really want the money, and they don't have, or they think that they don't have any other options to have access to loans. So then you have, and some of these organizations are even run by Latinos, so they're taking advantage of their own people. Okay, and I understand it's business or whatever, but you have to have. I don't have the values to be doing something like that. I wouldn't get into a lending business, or I wouldn't be lending money for like 36-45% with 36-45% interest rates. But it's just like, there are certain people that don't do certain stuff, and that's one thing that I wouldn't be doing. But when you have institutions that are like that, and they are probably going to argue, like, hey, we have to charge this much money or this much interest because they are high risk, right? They are high risk, and they need the money, and they're just taking advantage of the situation. I get it. But if someone comes to me and they say, like, they're going to get a loan for like 36%, I just better tell them, like, start working on your credit line. It may take you like 2 years or something. And then from there, you will have, even if you start financing your business with your credit card, you wouldn't be paying 36%, or at least the majority of folks wouldn't be paying 36% for a $5,000 or $10,000 credit line or loan. So it is important for you, business owner, small business owner out there, entrepreneur who's starting a business, to start working on your credit score if you are planning to go out there and ask for some funding. Okay, that's the most important thing, because when I moved to this country, I have no credit. So when I remember in 2010, 2011, beginning of 2011, I applied for a 20,000 micro loan, and I didn't qualify. And it's not because my credit was that bad, because I didn't have that much credit history in the first place. A lot of the bills that we have at that time with my wife were under her name, so There wasn't like a track record of me paying on time my bills. So I had that issue, and I didn't qualify for $20,000. But it had nothing to do with me being Latino or a little guy, like was just like learning the language and stuff. It was just the fact that I didn't qualify for the 20,000 micro loan because I didn't have a good credit score. So what I started doing after that, I started investing time in building my credit until I got to the point where it has fluctuated, in the high numbers. And now that I'm in the high numbers, I get invitations for loans on a pretty much right now on a weekly basis, I should say, or every other week, I get some type of invitation to apply for a business loan where right now I don't actually need it, right? So work on your credit score. Make sure that if you're starting your business, make sure that you have some type of plan, okay? I mean, it's a business plan, but when you say business plan, a lot of business owners like freak out. It's like they think like, oh my God, like I need to put together like 70 pages or something. No, but just have an idea of what you're gonna do with your money. Like if you get a loan, how are you gonna invest that money into your business? Like the people that are giving you a loan, they wanna know that you have a plan, that you're gonna execute that plan accordingly, and they wanna see how are you gonna use that money, because if they're gonna give you $100,000 just to pay some credit card debt, there is no business growing. And they're going to be like, well, now how are you going to pay that back? And I'll say, okay, full-time job, whatever. But you have to understand that you have to have a plan. Show the people that are going to, that you are asking money, how you are going to invest that loan, right? So have a plan. Then once you have that plan, make sure that you keep track of your finances in a professional way. Work with a good bookkeeper, CPA. Oftentimes, small businesses don't want to make those expenses on a monthly basis because they think that spending $500 a month or $1,000 a month, depending on the size of your operation, in a bookkeeper and a CPA is wasted money, when in fact it's just going to keep your financials very strong for future loans, right? So you are just preparing yourself for future opportunities, for growth, for expansion, etc. There isn't a lot of science behind these guys. This is like a straightforward things that you have to follow in order to have access to capital. So for all my fellow Latino business leaders out there that have been talking about the lack of access to capital in the Latino business community since I don't know how many years, but I can tell from some of the reports that I have seen since 2008, I'm sorry. They keep talking about the lack of access to capital in the Latino community because we are Latinos. And then they compare us against business owners in similar industries having more access to capital, but it's because they have credit history, they have financials in order, they have business plan. So that's where we need to start investing our resources, in our programs. And that's the other thing. If we have, or I have seen a lot of pilot programs to help educate Latinos on how to have access to capital, but then those pilot programs ended after like 6 months or a year because as organizations maybe we're not able to keep the funding going for something like that. So let's just try to get commitments from grants and corporations, organizations, etc., that can create culturally relevant business development assistance programs for business owners in our community, because we understand, some of the challenges and the struggles and the needs that they have. So we need to launch these programs, pilot programs, and make sure that we find a way to keep them consistent under the organization. And little by little, I mean, if we have in this country over 260 Hispanic chambers of commerce, if we are all educating the business community on how to have access to capital on an ongoing basis with with the tools and access to the resources and the education, trust me, in a period of 10 years, it's been 10 years, 13 years since I've been doing this. I bet you that if we would have started this 10 years ago, there would be more Latino businesses with access to capital right now, instead of us talking about the same narrative that we've been talking about for all these years, that Latinos don't have access to capital because they are Latinos. So it's not a rant. It's just a message that I want to put out there for some of my business leaders, for some of the business owners that are out there. You just have to be prepared. You have to be prepared to go to the marketplace and ask for money. If you are not prepared, just get ready. And the number one thing that people are going to be looking at is your credit score. If you have a business and you already started building a credit score for your business, that helps a lot, because that way you don't have to run your personal credit for some of those business loan opportunities that are out there. And that's something, for example, that I have started to work in some of my projects. And it's something that I encourage a lot of the members of our organization to do, is to start building a business credit score, and also take care of their personal credit score. When you have those two combined, it's super powerful. Trust me, doors are going to open. You're going to have access to capital, and you are going to have it when you need it, for expansion, for other business opportunities, etc. So think about this. Take the time to start working on these steps. They take time. I mean, you cannot, if you have had a bad credit score, throughout your life, and all of a sudden you want to flip that, and in a couple of weeks, it's not going to happen. So you need to start considering the different strategies that you can take to improve your credit score. There are many consultants out there that can help you with that, help you build your credit score. I have a good friend in New Jersey, Luis de la Hoz. He has helped a lot of small businesses have access to capital, but he literally have grabbed them by the hand and helping them to have everything in order so they can qualify for the loan. So there are many folks out there in our community that are doing the right things with the network that they have access to, and there are many success stories across the country of Latino businesses having access to capital because they have all their documentation in order. The same happened with PPP last year. A lot of businesses in the Latino community didn't have access to PPP because they didn't have a lot of the documents in order. So again, we just have to be ready when opportunities come. And when you have that good opportunity that need extra dollars, it's better to have lines of credits available for your business, credit cards with lots of credit on them, in case you need to pull the trigger real quick with one of them. Have a good relationship with your banker. Have 2 or 3 bank accounts, so you can diversify the relationship that you have with banks. And that way you are going to start creating a mix of resources that can become that source of money for your business. So think about that and make sure that you take care of these steps. And again, please, to all the Latino business leaders out there, you have to stop talking about the narrative that Latinos don't have access to capital because they are Latinos, because you're not helping. You're not helping at all. I just see actually, let me show you real quick. I'm going to show you something real quick. This is when was it? 2017. Latino entrepreneurs face hurdles in accessing capital to grow their business. This is 2016. Access to capital holding back Latino businesses. This is, when is this? This is 2013. Realizing the potential of Latino small businesses, and just like I said earlier, they're giving some recommendations here. Even the SBA put out this report in 2018, Latino business ownership, contributions and barriers for U.S.-born and immigrant Latino entrepreneurs. You go to page 17. This is, I mean, I have a lot of reports that I just keep for reference, and that I like to study, read, etc. Um, but this was here. Discriminatory barriers. But look, they're referencing people from 1993, 1994, 1997, 2005. I mean, the marketplace has changed so much since then that uh, we need to start addressing the issue that we had at hand right now based on the current conditions of the marketplace, the current conditions of the bulk of small businesses in the community. We have to be more proactive uh, about the solutions that we can propose to business owners that are desperate for capital. That's a reality. I'm not going to deny that. A lot of small businesses need access to capital, but if we just tell them like, well, we're gonna have this workshop where we're gonna tell you like the different options that you have, but and some of the barriers that you're gonna face, and I'm gonna share some data from these reports that that they get a lot of money to be creative, and they all talk about the same thing. So that doesn't help a lot. Imagine like right now, especially. Let me say something like the SBA, for example, is going to give a lot of money for the community navigator programs for organizations that they're going to pick across the country to help with technical assistance for small businesses. Millions of dollars are going to be invested in this organization. So let's say that you are Hispanic Chamber of Commerce that gets a couple of millions, because I think the grants are going to be in those ranges. And if you don't use that money to actually help with technical assistance, with real technical assistance to small businesses, then it's just going to be a waste of money again. And then we're going to be talking about the lack of access to capital for Latino or minority-owned businesses 10 years from now, just because the organizations that can actually have an impact in the community, like us, Hispanic chambers of commerce, business associations that work with Latino small businesses, etc. If we don't start, if we are not, I'm sorry, more proactive about how we address this issue, like I said, we're going to be talking about the exact same thing years from now. CDFIs have done a great job in the community, and they have been playing a very key role. So again, if you need access to capital under $100,000 or $200,000, there are options out there, but you just have to be prepared. Even a CDFI, they are going to ask you for certain documentation just so they know that you are going to pay the loan back, and you have to be prepared to have that documentation ready. So there are all, I mean, if you Google, there are all kinds of reports out there that have addressed the same situation over and over again, for the last probably like 3 decades. I only been living here in this country for 15 years, so don't ask me beyond that. But we just have to be more proactive with this situation, and I'm gonna start calling out names if needed, at some point, because at least in the Latino community, because if the ones who actually have access to that national visibility, the ones that can make a change, that trickle down effect on the issues that are affecting the Latino business community, but they are talking about the same stuff that they've been talking about for the last 10 years. Again, people, it's going to be 10 more years and we're going to be talking about the exact same thing. So we need to change the mindset. We need to change the narrative in the Latino business community. And if you are a business owner in need of capital right now, you already know the formula to success, okay? No excuses. No excuses, people. Let's go. Thank you so much for watching. I'm curious to see what kind of comments we're gonna get out of this live, but it is the reality. If you are prepared to go out there for money, there is plenty of money out there. I have seen real estate deals financed with in no time. When you have a really good track record, manufacturing companies getting access to capital to buy new equipment, startups or new businesses having access to capital because they have a good business plan, the owner has a good credit score. And I'm just repeating this because for some of you, it's going to be easier to say, like, oh, I just went to the bank. The banker was looking at me like all weird and he didn't give me any money. And then you get one of these surveys from these reports and you're going to say, like, hey, when was the last time that you tried to get money for your business? I was like, oh, like last week, last month. What happened? Well, I don't think I got any money because the banker was a racist. Yeah. I don't. I'm honestly, like, when people call me and they tell me that, I was like, I just need to ask 2-3 questions, and they're like, no, my credit score is like 600, and I don't have a business plan, and I'm like, well, that's probably why you didn't get that loan. So we're gonna get you ready, but that's the important thing. Reach out to organizations that can help you out in some capacity. We're gonna be launching a new financial literacy program in Spanish. Digital literacy is going to be included on it. Some tips on how you can buy your home and stuff, and all is going to be in Spanish because I feel like we need to do something else besides what we've been doing about trying to get small businesses to be more active in the digital economy. We know since we started this organization that access to capital is the number one issue that small businesses have. But because there are so many organizations out there and so many resources out there, putting that information out, I thought, like, at some point in 2008, I was like, I feel like in 2015 or 2018 or something like that, we're not going to be talking about this. We're going to be beyond this issue. And just like an hour ago, I see this guy and on a interview on Twitter and talking about this, and that person has a very visible brand in the Latino community, and I'm like, come on, that can't keep happening. It can't keep happening. I'm sorry, but it can't. And again, I'm just curious to see what I can hear from you guys, but we need to change the narrative. We need to change it now, be more proactive. And, when I get like upset about something, I try to do something. So we're going to start this new program in October. We're going to put out a lot of information through our platforms. And I'm actually I'm going to bombard you with a lot of stuff that I'm hoping that it can help you to get your personal and business finances in order. So, in like a year from next year or 2 years from next year, you'll be in a position where you get letters on a monthly basis from people trying to get you to have access to capital from them. Okay? Thank you so much for watching. Have a nice Thursday. And if I don't connect tomorrow, have a nice weekend. I hope that no one gets me a little fired up and get on this public platform to address some of the issues that are affecting the business community. But hey, I love business. I love small businesses, and that's what I've been doing this for the last 13 years. So I can help it. Thank you so much for watching. Take care, and leave a comment below if you have anything that can help out. Share any resources, share anything positive, and hopefully we can learn from each other. Thank you so much. Take care.